Alright, so welcome back everybody. So for this video, I'm going to show you guys how to play Moa. So in Moa, we are basically these tribal birds on this island that's supposedly somewhere near New Zealand or part of New Zealand. But in this world, we are intelligent tribal birds of various kinds. And the idea is each of the different tribes, while we are birds after all, and we're all birds, we do squabble at times. And anyways, territory is going to be very scarce because the idea is mammals are now coming to our island and they want to settle on our island, which means they're going to start taking over territories, which will now limit space for us, the tribes, to have for ourselves. And so we are vying for control over the remaining territories that the mammals don't take, is kind of the idea that we're trying to do. So in this game, we are basically playing an area control game. We want to control the various territories, okay? And there is 12 territories in all that we can control. And the game is going to take place over two basically periods of time, two time periods. I mean, there isn't a lot of time in going through this game, but as far as theme-wise, but basically two different times where we can score points. So we're going to score victory points at the end of the first period and at the end of the second period. And within one period, there is 7 rounds, okay? And in each round, all players get to take one action. So every single round, every single period, we can take up to most 7 actions during that period of time. Now, how do you score victory points? Well, controlling various territories is the main way you're going to score victory points. So if I had the most birds of my tribe color on this location here at the end of the game, or should I say at the end of the first period, I would score 5 points. And if I have it again during the end of the second period, at the end of the second period, I could score 5 points again. Now, it is area control, so there's going to be a lot of other birds also trying to take control of the same areas that we are at. So there's going to be some variations in how many points you might score if you are fighting over the same territory. Another way you can potentially score points is if you defeat the mammals that invade. If you defeat them, you can score victory points. So if I was to defeat this weasel here, at the end of the period that I defeated him, I would score 4 victory points for defeating him. But then I won't get the 4 again. So if this happens in the first period, I would get the 4 points for defeating him, but then this goes away and I won't get this. I won't get to score this one again, unless I defeat another weasel, of course. Another thing you can do is you can sell territories to the mammals. You can sell territories to the mammals, and if you do sell territories to the mammals, you can also score victory points too. So yes, you're even though all of the different tribes are not getting along, they're all squabbling over territory, some may decide to, play it safe and let a mammal take a territory, so that way they feel safe, they're going to get some victory points, and yeah, sort of like a trader almost, right? It's kind of the idea. But yes, you can do that in this game. So those are the main ways you're going to score victory points in this game. So let's talk about the different phases of the game first. So for the first phase of the game, one of the things that's going to happen for the first phase of the first period is you're going to draw 9 of these bird cards, okay? And they have various icons on them. They're each a different type of bird, tribesman. Like I said, different bird will mean different icons, but they're going to be the same icons based on what bird they are. So you'll notice this bird, sort of like a duck almost, right? Well, it's got the same icons as that one, because they're the same bird. So they're going to have different icons based on what type of bird they are. And then you're going to have, there's 4 different types of icons that might be on a card. Like this one here, this Kia here, it has 4 different icons on it. And there's only 4 icons in the game. So that's something to know. But yes, you're all going to get this many cards, 9 cards. And you only get 9 for the whole first period of the game. So you're going to do this again for the second period of the game. You're going to draw 9 more cards. Now, there are some ways you might be able to draw more cards, but for the most part, you get 9. And if with 7 actions, you're going to get 7 potential actions in a round. And that means 9 cards. And these cards are used for your actions. So you have 9 cards here. And you're probably thinking, well, maybe I only get to use 7 of them. No, not necessarily, because on your turn, you are allowed to use any number of cards as long as you're using the cards for the same action. So one of the actions is placing birds out onto the map. So this might allow me to place 4 birds, but let's say I wanted to place 7, I could actually discard both of these cards, placing out 7 birds into one area. That's kind of the idea. I wouldn't recommend doing that for some reasons that we will get into later, but that is something you can do, so you might potentially be using almost all of your cards, especially in the first period. You will probably use all of them, and there might even be some times when you won't have any cards to use, and then you'll just have to pass for the rest of the period if you run out of cards. So you use these sparingly if you can. But that's the general idea. Everyone's going to get 9 of these cards, okay? And then you're going to shuffle all of these cards, and I already did, and you're going to deal out 14 of these cards, okay? So basically, you'll deal out 2 of these terrain cards for every single round. And since there's 14 of them and 7 rounds, you have just enough here for the first period of the game. That's the idea for the first phase, is what you'll do, okay? You'll just get those cards, replenish and stuff. So then, and if you, at the end of the game, at the end of the first period, if you do not use all of these cards, you will have to discard them. So if you can, use them, because it's a waste otherwise. So that's the first phase, is just doing a little bit of shuffling and dealing out cards to everybody. The second phase of the game will actually be to reveal 2 of these terrain cards. That's what you'll do first. You'll reveal 2 of these, and you'll deal with them, okay? So these terrain cards will actually interact with the mammals and the volcano, potentially. And so you'll deal with all of that first. And then after you deal with all of that, then each player, starting with whoever is considered the first player for the first round, okay, will take their turns. Every player will take 1 turn, 1 action. And then once everybody has taken an action, okay, once everybody has taken an action, these are dealt with first, then potentially these. So these are dealt with. And so these will probably interact with the mammal cards for the most part. So you'll deal with these, then these, and then you'll take your action, and everyone else will take their action, and then you will give this to the next player 2, basically. And in round 2, the player 2 will go first. So this is going to get shuffled around. Everyone's going to get a chance to go first more than once. That's the idea. Now, so that's the first phase, the first 2 phases of the game. Once everybody has taken 7 actions, because you take 1 action at a time, and you've gone through all of the terrain cards, okay? Then that's when the third phase begins, which is the scoring phase. And then the fourth phase is just some tidy cleanup, basically. So anyway, so let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about the different types of birds in this game. So these are the 2A birds, and so these are the icons that they're always going to have. These are the Morapork birds, okay, and they're a type of owl that lives in New Zealand. These are the Kakapos, and they're a type of parrot, okay? These are Kiwis, okay? These are Paikakus. That's what they're called, I think. Pukakus. Okay, that's the hardest one for me to pronounce. And then these are moas, which are an extinct bird that used to live in New Zealand. They're extinct, but these are moas, which is why the game's called Moa, because it's an extinct bird. And then these are kias. And then this is the Haast's eagle, okay? And they specialize in attacking. So the arrows are attacking icons, so that way you can attack the mammals. These blue icons are called honor icons, and you can do two different things with them. With honor icons, you can place out if you discard two cards that have two honor icons on them, or one card that has two honor icons on them, you can place one of your leaders out, okay? That's what that does. Or you can sell a territory. So, for instance, let me see if I can find one. This dog mammal, if I wanted to sell a territory to this dog mammal, and it was on the board here, I would need 3 honor icons. I would have to discard 3 honor icons. So then I would probably have to discard like these 2 cards to sell a territory to them. Now, the territory that I sell has to have one of my guys on it, okay? So let's see here. Yeah, so let's just say I had him here. I wanted to sell this territory to a mammal, to this dog here, okay? I would have to have at least 1 unit here. Also, the terrain cards would also have to indicate coastal region as well. So this would have to be one of the face-up terrain cards in order for me to sell a territory. I would have to not only have that face-up and someone to sell to on the board, like there, for instance. I would also have to have enough of the honor icons to sell a territory. We'll get into all of the different actions and how they work later, but that's what you're going to do with the honor icons. They will interact with selling territories, and they will interact with these leader tokens, and we'll talk about what the leader tokens are good for in a moment. But yes, that's the idea of what those icons do. So, like I said, the arrows are for attacking. These blue ones are for the honor. These icons here with the bird heads on them, those are the ones that lets you place out these units onto a territory, okay? That's what they're for. And only 1 bird tribesman per icon, okay? So if you want to place out more, you're going to need something like this, or discard several cards, that have those icons. And then these star icons here are called Karakaya icons, and they interact with these special tiles here that give you special abilities and things like that, one-time bonuses and abilities. That's what they are for. But that's the general idea of the cards. That's the general idea of what the icons will do. So first, let's talk about the first phase of the game. So the first phase of the game, let's put him back, okay? The first phase of the game is revealing the first 2 territory cards. So let's just go ahead and do that. So these are the first 2 territory cards revealed. A coastal card and a forest card, okay? So now we will show you the cards a little closer. So you'll always do left to right and satisfy left to right. Now this means that if there are opossum mammals on the board, they immediately attack. But you'll notice there are no cards here at all. So this card does nothing. It's like, ooh, nice, nothing bad happened, basically. This one means that the mice are going to attack. Once again, there has to be a mouse card on the board for them to attack. So nothing bad happens at this point. But there are territory cards that can do some things. So let's let's do some things. So let's change the equation a little bit. All right. Let's say that it was these two cards that showed up first, okay? All right, so these are the two cards that showed up first. Well, the first thing is, this one's the one that's going to be on the left, is it has a volcano icon on it. What that means is it's going to basically move the volcano icon one up, okay? And that means it's going to get closer to erupting. What does eruption do? Well, this is the territory that has the volcano on it, okay? Now, it gives off the most victory points, 7 victory points for controlling this area at the end of the first period and second period. Most likely, it will probably erupt before the second period is over, but maybe not necessarily the first, right? So it might be wise to potentially get some people here, so that way you can score that 7 points. But if it does erupt, nothing necessarily bad happens. All of the troops obviously will come off of the territory because, volcano lava is spewing out. So everybody has to leave, okay? That's the general idea. And then that's all that happens. But then the units that you lose to the volcano just come back to your inventory to use for other territories, which isn't a horrible thing anyways, because maybe perhaps this volcano didn't erupt in the first round and you got to take advantage of it, gaining the extra 7 points here. That's kind of the idea. But you can't just simply get units onto this volcano location. You need to draw a territory card that has the volcano on it, the actual terrain of the volcano. So these are just interacting with number 3 and number 5 because these are the plains cards. So let me show you what a volcano might look like if it's in here. This is mountains, so it would be interacting with 11 and 2, not the volcano. Is there even a volcano in here? There is not. So sometimes you can't even get units onto the volcano area because you didn't draw any, you didn't shuffle well enough or whatever. So this is what the volcano looks like. So if this is one of the territory cards on the board, this is the time you can get troops on here. There is another way you might be able to get more troops on here without this, but when we might go over that later. But this is the main way you're going to do it. And there's another one with the volcano on it. And there's another one with the volcano on it. And there's another one. There was 4 volcanoes, and they were not part of the 14 that I drew. Wow, amazing. What are the chances of that? So yes, where was I? Oh, these 2 cards. So that's what that's going to do. Now, another thing the volcano track here is going to do is if this token was to get placed here, it's going to decrease the cost of this number. So if it goes to -1, it's only going to be a 6. If it goes to -3, it's only going to be a 4. Okay, so it will, as it gets closer to eruption, the victory points for controlling this area is going to diminish as well. So that's another obvious unfortunateness of trying to take that area for yourself anyways. But yes, that's what that would have done. And then this one here means that you're going to draw 2 mammal cards, okay? So we're going to go ahead and draw those 2 mammal cards. Here's 1, and here's 2. So these are both just going to simply go on the board. That's all that's going to happen at this exact moment. The dog is going to go there, and the opossum is going to go there, okay? The opossum has an attack power of 3, and you only need 1 honor icon to sell a territory to them, and they're also only going to give you 1 victory point if you sell a territory to them or attack them and defeat them, okay? The dog is a lot better, but it's a lot stronger. It's got 6 attack power, and you need 3 honor, and it's going to give you 3 victory points if you sell a territory to them or defeat them in battle. So that's the case there. So the only time these cards that go on the board here attack is when you do draw an icon that matches them, okay? So that's a mouse, for instance. So you'd have to draw an icon. There's another mouse, there's the dog. So then the dog would attack if this was to show up later and there was a dog card on the board, okay? Now, here's the problem. as you draw more mammal cards, there's going to be more cards that are going to go on the board. So here we have another dog. On the fourth card is another dog. So now there's 2 dogs here. That means if there are 2 dogs here and this shows up, that means one at a time, one dog will attack, then a second dog will attack. Both of these will attack even though there's only one dog here on the card. They all attack one at a time, okay? We will talk about how invasion works later, but that's the general idea. Now, there is one type of attacker here. So this is the weasel. You'll notice it doesn't have an honor on it, okay? That means you can't reason with this. You can't sell territory to the weasel. They only attack, and they immediately attack. So if they attack immediately, you just take one of their tiles here, and you put it on the board, and they immediately invade. So this is the only one that immediately invades, okay? The rest will take some time before they invade. Weasels invade and attack immediately. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. Let's see here. Let's actually explain how invasion is going to work. Actually, no. Let's first talk about some of the actions you can do. So these were the 2 actions that these were the 2 territory cards that were drawn, and we've already taken care of business. Okay, well, except there should only be 1 dog card there. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so then the next phase of the game is we would each take a turn. So let's say I'm going first. I can place onto the plains. That's the idea, is what I would want to do. So let's say I discard this card. I'm going to discard this card and use it to place 4 of my guys. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place 4 there with that action. And I can place it only either in 5 and 3 because those are the only plains in the whole map, okay? And that's the only cards that are out for territory. So I can place all 4 there. That would be my turn. My turn would be done. Then the second player would go and they would get to place out their troops, okay? Let's see here. So they don't have any 4s. They've got 2s, lots of 2s, okay? So let's say they want to... Oh, first. So there is something else. When you play a 2-player game, you will have a neutral color in the game. And after every turn, you're going to roll this dice to indicate where a neutral troop is going to go on the map here. So let's just go ahead and roll this dice. And it is a 7. So that means a neutral color is going to go here. Okay? So now there is 1 unit on that location. But yes, then player 2 would go and decide what they want to do. So they just want to get some troops out there, you know. So let's say they discard both of these cards to place out 4 of their troops at a location in the sorry, that's mine, in the plains. So let's say they take the other location. Okay, that's an action that they can do on their turn, is they can do that, okay, is placing out troops. That's one of the types of actions you can take, is just placing out troops. Okay, so that's what they've done. Now I got to roll the dice for the neutral player, and I just rolled a 3, so this is going to go here, okay? So that's the end of the first round. So let's go ahead and just move into the second round. So the next card that's drawn is a mountainous region, but a volcano. And the next one after that is all mice attack. There's no mice, so nothing bad happens there. So we'll go ahead and move this up. So now the volcano is looking less and less useful because it's getting closer to erupt much sooner than expected, much sooner than anticipated. That's for sure. So that means whatever action we decide to take must interact with either the mountain or the forest. And there's 2 mountains and 4 territories with the forest on it, okay? Hold on. Okay, so I am going to talk about the invasion part now after all. So, let's say for instance, we do have this card here that was drawn that has the mouse on it, okay? And let's say we did have 3 cards already on the board that are the mice. That means, at this exact moment, 3 mice would attack one at a time, okay? So the way the invasion works is it always starts with territory 1. They always invade here first. Now, there's nobody here, so that means they immediately just take it over. That's what that means, okay? So then the next one goes, and territory 1 is already controlled by a mammal, so they don't invade here. The mouse then goes to territory 2. The weasels already took it over a while time ago, so that means they don't invade here. Then they go over here. There's a stronghold here. This is a stronghold piece. We'll explain how we get strongholds in a moment. It'll make sense in a moment. But yes, if there's a stronghold on a territory, that means the mouse cannot invade here, or any of the mammals. They cannot invade here. So that means this mouse will then move on to the next territory because it can't invade there. Now, this is territory 4 here. This territory was sold by the traitorous pink player. And so a mammal already owns this territory, so that means that this mouse no longer needs to attack territory 4 because it's already controlled by a mammal. So then it goes to territory 5 to attack it. Now, there is no mammal controls this territory as far as attacking it or owning it with the money value, basically. And there's no stronghold here. So then that means that this mouse would then attack the green player. Now, the green player must now decide whether to defend the territory that they're on or to give it up to the mouse. If they had no way of defending it, like if they didn't have enough attack icons, then they obviously couldn't defend it and they would lose it. And all the troops would come back to their supply and the mouse would take it over. But let's say they did have enough, okay? So the mouse has an attack power of 4. I have a card here that has 2 attack icons on it. And we'll talk about how you can get these, but these are leader tokens that you might acquire throughout the game. And if I was to use both of these, it would be enough to take on that mouse at that location. But if I use this leader tile, this leader token or tile here, once I use it, I don't get to use it ever again. It's a one-time use. So let's just say I decide to use it. I'm going to use it and discard this to defend this location. Now that I've defended this location, this token here is mine to keep for the rest of the period, and I'm going to score 2 extra points at the end of this period, okay? But then I lose this. It's a one-time gain for victory points. But then one other thing is going to happen. Since I successfully defended this territory, a stronghold token is going to be placed onto this territory, and now this is now safe from any further invasions, which is smart, which is great, because guess what? We still have a 3rd invader, because there were 3 mouse cards on the board. So now this mouse is going to go through. Well, it can't attack here, can't attack here, can't attack here, can't attack there, cannot attack there, but now can attack here. Okay, so now we have a situation where we have 3 different units, 3 units for each of the 2 players that are here. So that means it's a tie for who controls it. In a normal situation, if the player who has the most units on this territory, they would have to deal with the attacker first. If they chose not to attack the attacker and not defend, then the pink player here could still decide to defend the territory, even though they have less troops, okay? So that's the general idea. But in the case of a tie, the green player still is going to go, because you'll notice while it has the same exact number, you'll notice it has this piece here. This is the leader token. So this breaks ties. So if there's a tie, the leader token will always break that tie. So that means they have to choose to attack or not. And let's say I choose not to attack, and then let's just say the pink player decides not to attack as well. So then all of my guys go away, and all of the pink guys go away as well. And that's the general idea. Now, another thing I forgot to mention, when one of these mammals take over a territory, if there is one of these leader tokens on the territory still here, it's removed from the game permanently. So that's the problem with that, is you don't want that to happen if you can help it. But how do you get those that I was just using earlier? The only way you get them is if you manage to place out one of your leader tokens. That means you need to discard 2 cards, okay, that have the leader icon on them, or the honor icon on them. So, or two of these icons I have to discard. So in this case, it would have to be both of these cards. I could discard both of these. I'd also have to have the current territory, would have to be a forest. And then if I wanted to, I could place this, you know, here because I have units here. And then because I placed a leader there, I would get this leader tile to use one time only on a later turn, but only once. But that's how that action functions. So we've talked about most of the different types of actions you can take. We've talked about placing out troops. We've talked about selling a little bit, but there is one type of action we haven't really talked about besides the Karakia tiles. So another thing you can do on your turn is you can choose to attack a mammal that's already on the board. So this mouse here, I can actually choose to attack him as an action. What I need to do, obviously, is first have enough attacking tiles to attack him with. So for instance, I could discard these 3 cards, okay, which have enough of the attacking icons on them to defeat this mouse as my action. That's something I can do. Now, the cards that I use to attack with, if they have the bird icons on them, you are allowed to place as many bird icons as bird tokens or bird troops or bird tribesmen based on the amount of icons here. So I can place up to 2. And you don't always have to place the full number. That's something I might have forgotten to mention. You don't always have to place the full number, but you can, if you want to, place them all. And so I could do that. So that's one way of not only placing out troops, but attacking on the same turn. That's one action that you can take if you wanted to do 2 in one fell swoop. That would be one thing you could do. But yeah, that's how that's going to work. So that's most of the actions I've talked about. So the only other action is the Karakia tiles and just simply explaining selling land. If you sell land to a mammal, you will no longer score, you will no longer be able to come to this territory ever again. So this is a sold territory to a mammal. That means no troop, no units can ever come here again. And this is just indicating the player who sold the land. Who is the trader who sold this territory to a mammal? I tell you, seriously. But yes, that's the idea. And then that means this, even though that this unit is still here on this tile, he does not control this territory, so the mammal is controlling it, so this will no longer be available because of that. And then, of course, the player who did sell successfully is going to keep this card only for 1 period because he sold it to a dog, so he'd keep the card, scoring the 3 points at the end of the first period or second period, and then it's discarded, and he would never score that one again unless he got another one. That's the idea, though, of selling territories. But once again, in order to sell a territory, the territory card must match where the territory you're selling, okay? You must have at least 1 troop on a territory that you are selling to do so, and then if you meet those requirements, then you also have to have enough honor icons to the one you're selling to the mammal that you're selling to. If you can meet all 3 of those requirements, you can sell to get those extra victory points. But a strategic thing to do is, if there is a territory that you are vying for, let's say this is one of the territories, let's say I have 2 units here, but Pink has 4 or 5, and I don't think I'll ever take it from him because he can just get more and more troops faster than I can and take it from me. Well, all his hard work can be destroyed if I simply just sell the territory, because you do not have to have the most units on a territory to sell it. You just have to have those other requirements that I mentioned in order to sell a territory. So I could have 1 troop here and sell it, and all his hard work would be erased. That's the strategic advantage to selling territories, is if a player is monopolizing a territory with tons of units, you can make it so he's not going to score those points at the end of the period. That's the general idea. That's the idea for selling. And then the only other thing you can do is the Kira Kira action, as far as buying Kara Kira tiles. So the star icons are the ones that let you buy those. So if I was to discard as my action, let's say there was nothing really worth doing. There was nothing, no troops I wanted to place out with the available territories that showed up. Let's say it was volcano and mountains, which I didn't want to place potentially. Let's just say that was the case. Let's say I didn't want to place out a leader at those locations. Let's say I didn't want to attack a mammal and place out troops that way. Let's say I didn't want to sell land, okay? Well, there's only two other actions that you can do that round. You can pass, and that's fine because you can still take other actions during the rest of the period. You're just passing for that round. Or the other potential thing you could do is you could purchase Kara Kia tiles with the amount of star icons that you have. So you can purchase up to 2. They have to be different, but you can purchase up to 2. And so if I was to discard these, that would give me 3 stars to potentially buy a couple of tiles. So one of the tiles I could purchase is this one. What this means is I can use it at any time on my turn, on another turn, on a future turn to draw 1 card. Okay? 1 bird card. Okay? That's what that does. That's the only thing that does. But I could buy that one. Another one I could buy is this one. What this allows me to do is draw 3 more bird cards, and then I must discard 3 bird cards. So let's just say I have a bunch of the same bird, and they're not that great, you know, and I don't have very many of a certain icon because I've got so many of the same one. That might be useful. This might be useful in that case to discard some to get some potential other birds, more variety. So that's how that one works. This tile here just gives you 2 more attack icons. Once you use it, you must discard it back to the supply. But yes, you could use this to help you attack the mammals. And it just adds +2 attack power. And then these red ones, they have the 2 stars on them. So I could buy one of the plain ones and one of these red ones because I had 3 stars or 3 Kara Kia icons. What this one allows me to do is it allows me to basically take an action with any one of these areas. So let's say there's something I really wanted to do on one of the territories, but it just never seems to be drawn, like that volcano. I mean, no one has drawn the volcano. What the heck? Where's the volcano? Oh, yeah, that's right. All 4 of the volcanoes are in the other. So they're never going to come. But if I was to grab this, I could use this token on my turn to say, hey, I'm going to interact with the volcano this turn. That's what that means. Or whatever one you want to do. So that's basically, gives you another option for taking actions. This one is the only other way you can move. This is the only way you can move troops around. So let's say you have some troops here. Let's say I have 2 troops on this mountain, okay? Or 2 troops here for that matter. Let's say that volcano has not shown up and no one's gotten anything here, and it doesn't look like the volcano is going to erupt anytime soon. If I had this token, I could move up to 2 troops from one adjacent territory to another. So I could move both of those guys from there to there. Or I could move both of these guys to there as an example. So that's something I could do, and that would be the only other way to get something onto this volcano. So yeah, that's another type of action. And then this tile here, it lets me place out a stronghold, okay? So I can place out a stronghold at a place I do not want to be attacked. So that's another way you can get out strongholds. You don't always have to defend against a mammal and win. You can also get this tile to place a stronghold and, prepare for an incoming invasion. So those are the different types of Kara Kia tiles that you can utilize. And then, there are different types of the leader tokens that you might get you can remember these are one-time uses, but this one, if I took the action to get more of the Karakia tiles, I could use this to get 2 extra stars or 2 extra icons, and then maybe I would only have to discard 1 card, for instance, and instead of several. That's the general idea for this. Some of them are just going to give you a couple of victory points, but once you've attained the victory points for it, you cannot attain it again. So if I get this in the first period, I cannot get the 2 points for this leader token for the second period, okay? This one just gives me 2 more honor icons to either sell a territory to a mammal or to place out one of my tribal leaders. And then this one, if let's say I'm taking the action that lets me place out units out on the board, I can use this one time only to place 2 additional ones out. And that's basically all of the different tokens available in the game. I think I explained it. I think I explained it the best I could do. I think that's everything you need to know in order to play this game. I don't think I left out anything. Like I said, it'd be the player who has the most points at the end of the game that wins. There's 2 periods, so two scoring moments in the game. And yeah, I think that explains the whole game, I think. So I hope you guys enjoy this, how to play. This is kind of an older game, but I noticed there isn't really much information on this game out there. And I've had it on my shelf for a few years now, so I wanted to give it a try and see what it was like. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.